Mr. Barrett.
Well, thank you all for coming today. It's a great turnout. I'm really pleased to see this. I think the library is happy too that we get such a great turnout here in Ajo, and that there's actually a lot of support for library activities here. It's true. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my books today, and a little bit about the background that went into writing the books. And you might also be curious, other than that he's a great guy, why I included Mr. Boozer in this presentation today. Well, let me begin by saying I want to personally thank the Ajo Library, Ajo Southwestern Library, and Principal Library for bringing me here today. It's a pleasure to be here. In a sense, it's kind of the fulfillment of a dream in coming back to Ajo. You heard a little bit about my background, being that I have spent time in Ajo before, through the auspices of my father, who lived here for about 14 years before he passed away in 2006. In a sense, I am an Ajo resident, a part-time resident, although I guess I wouldn't say so officially, but I'm definitely an Arizona resident by default. I first discovered Ajo when my father retired, and I helped him move up here in 1992. And then I discovered Ajo again in Arizona in 2000 when I decided to go back to graduate school, and I was accepted to the University of Arizona in the writing program, which kind of got me to where I am today in writing. And it put me on this path, this career path, I hope it's a career path, to where I will be doing more writing in the future. Okay. Well, again, as I said, it represents kind of the realization of a dream. What I mean by that is, when my father passed away in 2006, all my siblings gathered together, came here for his memorial service, and we remembered him, and then we also had to take care of family business. And I felt that was probably the last time, that was it, that was the last time I would ever be down here again. And as time passed, and I went back to my normal life, teaching and trying to write, I realized I started to miss Ajo a lot, and I thought it was kind of odd since I didn't really have any connection here except for my father. And then I started thinking more and more about how the reason I missed Ajo is because I had spent so much time here, and I guess it has started to seem like a home to me. So I began to think about, when can I come back to Ajo? When can I come back to Ajo? What would be the reason for me to do it? And I couldn't think of one, because for one thing, I have family life. I have some children that are still very small, and I have other obligations, of course, to attend to. At the time of my father's passing in 2006, I was teaching overseas in China. I was actually working for an American university that had a satellite campus in China. So I had to return rather quickly for that. And I was still in China in 2007. And in 2007, I took another job in China, and it took me all the way through 2008. So it didn't seem like there was any chance I was going to get back to Ajo anytime soon. Well, I had already written this book here called Sticks and Shovels, and this came out in 2002. This is my first novel. And today I'm going to talk a little bit also about why I don't think this novel, or the latest one, could have been written without some influence from Ajo in Arizona, nor can it have been written, either book could have been written without knowing Mr. Boozer or my father. And I don't mean just knowing my father, but knowing my father down here in Arizona, having the opportunity to come down and see him here. So the fulfillment of this dream happened because I realized I've got to get down to Ajo one more time. I really need to come back here one more. I didn't know why exactly. I just felt like I needed to come back again. I found out that the way that I was going to be able to do that, what enabled me to do that, was writing this book. When I first started writing this book, hopefully you'll be reading this book, but when I first started writing this book, I wasn't really sure where I was going. That is, I knew I was going to continue with Jake McElvey, but I wasn't sure what would happen with the book. And The first book, I had a publisher all ready to publish it, and then he backed out. So I went to another means of publishing it. This book here, it took me 5 years to complete it because I started before my father died. He got to read a little bit of it before he passed away, but he never saw the completion of it. So I continued working on this book while I was still in China, imagining being back in this area, this locale environment, and then I finished it there. And again, because it took me so long to write it, I didn't want to take the time to go out and market it to one publisher after another and get rejection after rejection after rejection or whatever. It's very common. Even for extremely good books, you'll get rejected again and again. Anyone who's had any experience publishing knows that. It's a very, very tough market. So I decided I would narrow it down to, I knew there would be a market in this area because of the locale. So I kind of focused on that and decided to go ahead and just work with iUniverse Publishing, which works mostly online, and work with them on this book, and that was fast way to get published, and so that's what happened there. And then it became my avenue and my reason for coming back to Aho because of Mr. Boozer here, and my father. For a while, my family talked about having an annual celebration every year, remembering my father down in Aho. But as usual, the requirements of family life with my siblings and their own careers, whatever, just took over, scattered all over the world. So, they weren't able to do it. And so this is also a fulfillment of that dream. I was able to dedicate the book to my father because, again, I don't think without him allowing me to stay with him on so many occasions, I could have worked on the book and been able to have the vision of the book that I did. So I'm grateful to my father for letting me come down so often as I did. I know some people, when they retire, it's kind of time to leave the siblings, or the children, that is, behind, and let them continue with their professional lives or whatever, and let me have some time myself, which is certainly maybe what I would do, and just want to be alone for a while and keep it quiet. The door was always open in my father's case. He had no trouble with me traveling all across the country and coming down here to Arizona, hanging out with him for weeks or days or months, and on a few occasions, 2 or 3 months. And he was very patient with that, and it enabled me to spend time working on my writing. And he's living by himself, so I did have a room to work in. It enabled me time to meet Mr. Boozer and get the orientation of the area around Aho. And Mr. Boozer, I'm really appreciative because he has never had any qualms about taking me out anywhere I want to go and seeing anything out there on the desert I want to see, and telling me anything that he knows. If he knows it, he will be happy to share his knowledge of it. So I'm also quite appreciative of that too. Well, I think I'm going to maybe just talk a little bit about going into writing the book, and then I'd like to read a little bit from the book and the book stuff for you. McFitter's Crossing, again, is my latest novel, and it's the one that I'm trying to promote a little bit more because this is my first, and I have maybe about 10 copies of it, not too many of this today. So I would recommend starting with this one. If you feel you're wealthy enough, you can get both copies, and it will get you started and understand Jake McElvey a lot better, and then you can continue on with his adventures in the second book. If you start with this book, you will leap right into the adventures, sort of like a TV series, and into the action. And then later you can always go on to Amazon.com and get this book pretty easily too, but you'd have to pay probably a little bit more because it's a little older and shipping charges. But if that's no object, then you can do that. Unfortunately, again, I only have about 10 copies of this, so if you'd like one, I would have to sell it to you. Just realize I might run out very quickly, so first come, first serve. This book, I'm sure I have enough copies for everybody who wants it. Okay? Okay. I think it's kind of important to talk a little bit about the process of writing. Because when you read my book, I think when you read any book, often the question is, how did the writer why do you want to write this? How do you get to this point in writing it? If you get involved with any serious writer, Robert E. Parker or Stephen King, who is not really a serious writer, but often dwells upon the same themes of supernatural and the unknown and horror. You notice that after a while you start to, you like the author perhaps, but you start to wonder how they tick. And that's often my question. So I think in talking about the process of writing, it also helps to understand what you're reading as well.